Parshas Vu'eiru, Tuv Shi and Pai Hai, B'siyati D'Shemaya. As we were talking now before, a person should know who he is. Shouldn't forget who he is. I reminded myself that it's brought down in Sefer Kitzur Shlo. A lot of Siddirim quote it after Shemona Esrei, that a person should say at the end of Shemona Esrei a posik that starts with the same letter that his name starts and finishes with the same letter that his name finishes. Yeah, you know of that. And the segula is that a person, when he comes up to Shemayim after 120, it's being said that sometimes from strong pachat, you forget your name. And by saying a posik that has the first letter of your name and it finishes with the last letter of your name, the schus ha-Torah is a megan. How do you say megan? It protects. And it makes you shouldn't forget your name. You should remember your name by the Yom Adin. That's how it's brought down in Sefer Kitzur Shlo. And they also quote a Rashi Yoshin in Micha. There's a pasuk in Micha, V'soshia yara shemecha. So there's a Rashi Yoshin over there that says that when a person says every day a pasuk that starts with the first letter of his name and finishes with the last letter of his name, the Torah is going to be megan on him, protect him from Dina Shel Gehenim. So it's very similar. The Berjaner of the Masham in the Sefer Das Torah, when he brings down after Shemona Esrei this Kitzur Shlo, he also refers to the Rashi Yoshin Emicha, V'tashia Yara Shemecha, that by saying a posik every day that starts with the same letter as your name and finishes with the same letter of your name, the Torah is megan and matzel the person from Dina Shel Gehenim. So it's said that you don't forget your name. If you say every day a pasuk, we say it 3 times a day by the end of Shemona Esrei. Now a person that his name is, let's say, Yitzchok, says a pasuk that starts with a Yud and finishes with a Kuf. Now if a person has 2 names, we are used to say 2 psikim. 1 pasuk for the first name, another pasuk for the second name. But I lately saw that Reb Chaim Kanievsky, Zecher Tzadik Levrucha, he says, no, that when you have 2 names, it's like one long name. So you should say a pasuk that starts with the first letter of your first name and finishes with the last letter of your last name. If you have 2 names or 3 names, again?
Of your second name, not your last name.
Yeah, I meant to say sometimes a person has 3 names or 4 names. I didn't mean the family name. When I said last name, I meant his last name of his Jewish name, of the Yiddish name. Sometimes a person has 2, and sometimes he has 3. And I have a boy that has 4 names. He is called David, Menachem, Mendel, Yehuda. So he has 4 names. He also has 4 names? No. 2 names. You have 2 names. You have 3 names. I have 2 names. Yitzchok, Ahron. So till now, I used to say 2 psikim. Yitzchok, Yud, finishes with a Kuf. And Ahron, a pasuk that starts with an Aleph and finishes with a Nun. According to Reb Chaim Kanievsky, I should say a pasuk that starts with a Yud and finishes with a Nun. Because you could look it up in the Siddirim that bring down all the psukim. So if you want, you could say all of them. You could say for every name, 1 pasuk. And then you could also say a pasuk that starts with the first letter and finishes with the second or the third name that you have, your Yiddish name, Shkoyach. That's in order not to forget. The truth is that we see, if we speak about names, it is said in the name of the Chazon Ish, that the Chazon Ish held that when a person gets 2 names after 2 tzaddikim, he shouldn't do it. Why? Because it's ke'ilu, you're not named not after this tzaddik and not after this tzaddik. It's a new name. 1 tzaddik was named, let's say, Avram. 1 tzaddik was named Yaakov. And you give Avram Yaakov, it's not Avram, and it's not Yaakov, it's a new name. But a lot of tzaddikim didn't held that way. They did say that if you give 2 names, you have both miles. You have the mile of this tzaddik and the mile of this tzaddik. We do see that once upon a time, usually there weren't 2 names. If you look in Gemara, in Tanakh, you don't find a person that has 2 names. And even in Mishnayos, Gemara, even by the Rishonim, I think, you don't find. Only started later that people started giving 2 names or 3 names or more. Person had 1 name. Interesting. The Chidah in the Sefer Shem HaGdolim. By the Eirech Shneyoyer. Shneyoyer, there's a name Shneyoyer, yeah? The Balatan is Yortzad this week. Reb Shnei Zalman, Chav Dalet. Tevis, the Yortzat of the Heilige Balatani, is Chizuk in Aleini. The Chizuk brings down by the name Shnei how did it start? The Chizuk brings down there was once a wife and a husband that they had the argument. They had the boy, and he wanted to name after his father. His father's name was Meir. She wanted after her father. Her father's name was Oiri. Oiri v'yishi, Oiri. They came to the Rav to give Meir or Oiri. Now, in our case, the Rav would say, give both names, Meir, Oiri. It seems in those days, there wasn't such an option of giving two names. So what did he say? The Rav said, give him Shnei Oir. That the definition is two lights, Shnei Oir. So he's being called after Meir and after Oiri. And that's very interesting. That means that the Ike part, the main part of a name is the definition, not even the spelling of the name, because by saying Shnei Oir, you're not giving Meir and you're not giving Oiri, but you're giving the definition of two lights. So he's being called after two lights. So that's regarding, I want to say, just finish this topic with a small joke. Once there was a husband and a wife came to the Rav. They wanted to name their child after their parents. So he said, my father's name was Moshe. And she says, my father's name was also Moshe. So what's the problem? No, he wanted to be after his father, and she wanted to be after her father. So the Rav asked the husband, what was your father's doing? Oh, he was a big Talmud Chochem. He used to sit and learn. And then he asked her, what was your father? He said, my father wasn't a big Talmud Chochem. He was actually an electrician. He used to do business for his doing. So the Rav says, what's the problem? Give him the name Moshe, and we're going to see. If he's going to grow up to be a Talmud Chochem, we're going to know that he's being named after your father. If he's going to grow up an electrician, he's going to be after her father. Now let's start the Parashat. Parashat V'eiru. Parashat V'eiru, Hashem tells Moshe Rabbeinu he should go to Klal Yisrael and tell them we are going to go out from Mitzrayim. Locheina moi livnei Yisrael ani Hashem. Finished. You think that you're going to stay here forever, 210 years, you're in Mitzrayim, everything is going to change. Voitzeisi eschem etachasiv lois Mitzrayim, one lashon of geula, veitzalti eschem eyavidosam, vegoalti eschem bezroya netuya, evishvatim gedoylim, velokachti eschem li laom, vayisi lechem leilekim. Those are the four lashonis of geula. And as the Rechaim HaKudosh is masbir, it's not stam four lashonis, it's four madregas. The Rechaim HaKudosh says like this. First there was Voitzeisi Eschem. When? As Moshe Rabbeinu came to Paroi, and the first Makkah came, Makkah's Dam, that was actually around a year before Yetzias Mitzrayim. A year before Yetzias Mitzrayim, the Mitzrayim stopped of being Meshabeit Klal Yisrael. There was no Shibud anymore on Yiddish Kinder. Why? Because they were busy with themselves. Who had time to be Meshabet in Klal Yisrael? Let me quote the Lashon of the Rechaim HaKudosh, as he says, Betchilo yokel oil sibilom, the sevel, v'hi oimroi voitzeisi eschem etacha sivlois Mitzrayim, shehu toikef hashibut, v'zeh hoyo, teikef imeyad b'maka sayeoir, nispardo hachavilo, noiksim v'shoitrim. So, but, he goes down to the Rechaim HaKudosh and he says, Klal Yisrael, we're still doing jobs for the Mitzrayim from their own. Even without being requested by the Mitzrayim, they were so used that they were servants for the Mitzrayim. Yeah, how do you call it? It was like...
Golus mentality.
Oh, the Golus mentality. They were still oivdim ktsas, ki eimas ha-Mitzrayim hoisa aleim. V'ma'atzmom hoyu oivdim avoida kala. Small, easy jobs they were doing on their own. He saw that something has to be fixed. Even if he wasn't asked for, he used to do it. Because he's still used to that he's a servant. So even though he's not being asked to do the avodah kosher, but he was still doing avodah skalos. So first was then the second part was that you're going to stop even doing anything for them, not even an avodah kala. That was when you went out from Mitzrayim. Then there is v'ga'alti eschem Bizroy Anatiyah, the Rechaim HaKodesh says this means the Iker Ge'ilah, that wasn't by Yitzias Mitzrayim, that was by Kriyas Yamsiv. Because still Kriyas Yamsiv, there was still Mitzrayim Noiseach Areim. In the back of the mind, Klal Yisrael knew Pari could still come with the Mitzrayim as they did. And then they chased after them. When it was Kriyas Yamsiv, and they saw Vayari Yisuras Mitzrayim, Meis Al Sfas Hayom, then it was V'ga'alti. V'ga'alti was...
What the distinction of Itzalti?
V'ga'alti is when they came out of Mitzrayim, then they stopped even doing even a small job for them. V'ga'alti eschem hayavidosam. Not even doing a small job, but it still wasn't yet the Ge'ilah. The Ge'ilah was only by Kriyas Yamsiv, was the Gemara Ge'ulah. And then this V'lakachti eschem ni'la'om, that's by Matan Torah Yom Tov Shvius. So the Rechaim HaKodesh goes that those are the 4 steps. V'itzeisi, v'itzalti, v'ga'alti, v'lakachti. Just want to say in the name of the Biyan, the Rebbe Zechron Levruche. He once said, Parshas Ve'ero, Shabbos by the Tish, he said like this. In Parshas Ve'ero, there's no mitzvahs that Hashem gives Klal Yisrael. Because most of the mitzvahs, the Torah mitzvah starts in Parshas Boy. Achoydish Hazeh Lachem Rosh Chodoshim, then it goes the mitzvah of Korban Pesach. Achilas matzah, achilas moroi, you're not allowed to eat chometz, bal yeruah, bal yemotze, a lot of mitzvahs. As we see, Rashi starts at the beginning of Bereshis, Omar Rav Yitzchok, lo yitzchok la'aschles ha'toyre, elo machoydesh hazeh she mitzvah rishoyne, she nitztavi bo Yisrael. Even though there are some mitzvahs before, Pirye v'rivye, mitzvah smile, gidanoshe, but the Seder mitzvahs that Klal Yisrael became a nation and Am, that was by Yitzias Mitzrayim. So from Parshas Boy starts every Parsha mitzvahs for Klal Yisrael. Vo'eiru is still before. There's no mitzvahs, but he once said, even though there's no mitzvahs that Klal Yisrael have to do, but there are mitzvahs that Hashem has to do. Mitzvahs for Hashem Yisborach. Vo'itzeisi, v'itzalti, v'ga'alti, v'lakachti. Those are the mitzvahs that Hashem Yisborach is Mekayim, and he should be at Mekayim now also. V'itzeisi, v'itzalti, because it says in Zohar HaKodesh that Hashem is Mekayim the whole Torah, Taryag mitzvahs. So it refers also to the mitzvahs that he has Kav Yochel. He has his mitzvahs. V'itzeisi, v'itzalti, v'ga'alti, v'lakachti, eschem nilam. We should be Zoiche. Now, in this week's Parsha, there's most of the Makkis that came under Mitzrayim, Dom, Tzefardei, Akinim. I want to say an interesting rach. Chazal say that by Makkas Dam, this Ashri Yisrael, Klal Yisrael became rich by Makkas Dam. How did it work? The Medrash brings down the Mitzrayim wanted to have water. And they saw that by the Yidden there is water. They only have Dam. And they see a Yiddish kind, a small child, is going around with a cup and a straw and it's drinking water. And they were very frustrated. Why can't they have water? And the Yid who used to answer, if you're going to pay, you're going to have water. So in the beginning, it was probably cheap, I assume so. They didn't have the Yid that it can make a lot of money out of this business. It was only going on for 1 week, 7 days. But as the hours passed by, the price went up. And every day the price went up, and every year the price went up. By the end of this week of Makkas Dam, Klal Yisrael were very rich. Makkas Dam is Ashlu Yisrael. And it brings down the Ariyah Kodesh brings down the Pasuk that Hashem brought on the Mitzrayim Makkis. It's called Nogoif Verofoi. It was a Negev for the Mitzrayim and the Refuah for Klal Yisrael. Every Makkah. Well, this is the Koyach of Hashem, as we see in the beginning of the Parsha. Vayedaber Elokim el Moshe, Vayomer Elav Ani Hashem. And the Rechaim HaKodesh adds a few pshotim. You start Vayedaber Elokim, that's Midas Adin, and right away you say Vayomer Elav Ani Hashem, Midas Surachnim. So he has a few pshotim. And one of the pshotim the Rechaim HaKodesh refers that Hashem told to Moshe Rabbeinu, look, I have 2 midos, Midas Adin, that's Elokim, and Midas Surachnim, that's Shem Havayeh. Regarding the Mitzrayim, both midos are equal, decided Kavyochol, to bring Oynish on the Mitzrayim, even the Midas Rachman. Regarding Klal Yisrael, even the Midas Adin understands we have to shower them with Rachmonos. So it's Hashem Yu Elokim. Now it's together. Both of them understand that the toive for the world is that Klal Yisrael should have only goods, and the Mitzrayim should be wiped out. They should have only Midas Adin. So over here, when it came to the Makkah, Hashem is a Koil Yuchol, he could make in every Makkah, it should be for Klal Yisrael a Toive, in the same time that it's a makkah for the Mitzrayim. How do we see it? By makkah's dam, this Ashru Yisrael. From this makkah, turning in the water into dam, for the Klal Yisrael, it was the best thing that could happen. They had beautiful, delicious water, and they made a lot of money. And for the Mitzrayim, it was the worst case that could be. Everything was dam. They wanted to wash their hands, to take a shower, drink something. Everything was dam. So it was not going to be makkah's dam is Ashru Yisrael. There's even some that say, there's a lashon we say a lot of times, domim tarte mashme. Person wants to say, I invested in this, all of my koyach. He could say all of my domim, and he explains, domim tarte mashme. I mean all of my blood and all of my money. Because domim, you could interpret it into blood, and you could interpret it into money. Domim tarte mashme, both definitions of domim. So I once heard from my father, he said domim is the same letters like dam, mayim. Because the first money that Klal Yisrael made was by Makkah's dam. Till then they were avodim. As they started to become a nation, the first money that they earned was by Makkah's dam. So that's why it's called money, it's called domim, dam mayim, to remember. By that Makkah of dam, it was a refuah for Klal Yisrael, as it turned into from dam to mayim. So the Medrash says by Makkah's dam is Ashur Yisrael. So the holy sefer Zer Hashem Shem, Zeichet Tzadik v'Kodesh Levruche, Zechiso Yogein Oleinu V'Al Yisrael Umein. He brings down, he asks a gewaltige kasha, what was the necessity, what was the purpose that Klal Yisrael should become rich by Makkah's dam? True, there was a haftoche, va'achle kein yeitzu b'rechish godel. That haftoche refers, when you're going to go out from Mitzrayim, you're going to have a rechush godel, you're going to be very wealthy. And the Gemara brings down in Masechta B'choiros that by Yetzias Mitzrayim, the least, there was no Jew that went out with less than 90 chamoirim lubim full with all goods of Mitzrayim. That was the shvachste, the one that had the least. The biggest shlemazl went out with 90 chamoirim donkeys lubim. Those are the strong donkeys, full with all goods. The Mitzrayim gave them, just leave Mitzrayim. They showered them with everything that they had. So that was the Rechush Godol. Now we're not talking about Rechush Godol. Now we're talking about becoming a little bit rich, to have some money. What was the purpose? What was the reason? What was the necessity that should be? And he goes on. Klal Yisrael knew that when they're going to go out, they're going to have a Rechush Godol, because Moshe Rabbeinu told them already before the first Makkah. And Hashem told him he should tell Klal Yisrael that when you're going to go out, you won't go out empty-handed. Everybody should borrow from his neighbors and from all his friends that he knows. And take out everything from Mitzrayim. So they knew they're going to go out with a Rechish Godol. Now we see in Orach Chaim HaKudish they stopped the shibud. By Makkah's dam, there was no more anymore. There was no shibud anymore. So what was the reason they should become ashirim? What good did it bring that they should become? It wasn't yet the haftoche from the Rechish Godel. So what was the reason that it should be in this Ashri Yisrael? Comes the Heilige Zer Hashem and he says a gewaltige Sach. Burichatu Adonai Eloheinu melech u'olam shehakol niu b'dvuroi. He says, the Gemara brings down in Masechta Bava Basra. In the 8th Peirik of Bava Basra, the Gemara brings a Pachad of a Chazal. Dorash Rav Pinchas Bar Chuma. Rav Pinchas Bar Chuma once said, Koshe aniyut b'torbeisa shel Adam. It's very hard, Chaz v'sholem, if poverty is in the house of a person. Aniyut b'torbeisa shel Adam is koshe, yoyse mechamishe makois. Worse than having 50 makois is poverty, aniyut. He brings a raya from where? When Eoiv had a lot of the tzoros that came upon Eoiv, we see over there in Eoiv that a lot of his friends came to visit him and to be in menachem. How do you say menachem? In console. And to console Eoiv on all the tragedies that happened to him. Eoiv tells his friends and he tells them, Chaninu, chaninu, atem reyai. My good friends, daven for me. Ask Hashem, should be michoinein. Chaninu, chaninu, chanuni, atem reyai. Why? Ki yad Hashem nogobi. Hashem's hand touched me. He meant to say, I got a smack from Hashem Yisborach. Yad Hashem nogobi. I got a patch from Hashem, so daven for me. Comes the Rashbam, and the Rashbam explains, if Etzba Elokim means 10 makos, we see in Mitzrayim, Etzba Elokim, so Yad Hashem means 50 makos. Now, what does it say afterwards? That his friends answer Eve, they tell him like this, look, we're going to daven for you, but just watch how you talk. Al teifen el ovein. Don't, chas v'sholem, speak something bad against Hashem, even in your matziv. Why? Because ki al zeh bacharto ma'oini. All the problems that you have, you would prefer that rather than being poor, rather than poverty. And Baruch Hashem, the money you still have. Hashem didn't take away from you your money. So al teifen el oven, ki al zeh bacharto me'oini. You would prefer rather this than being poor. So we see from this, even though he says Yad Hashem no gobi, I got a patch from Hashem, and we understand that means 50 makos. They tell him al zeh bacharto me'oini. So we see aniyus b'terbeisa shel Adam is worse than 50 makos. Comes the holy Zera Shimshon and he says gewaldig. Hashem wanted, when the Mitzrayim get the makos, that it should be clear and visible to everyone that the reason why the Mitzrayim get the makos is because Klal Yisrael. Because Hashem wants to take out Klal Yisrael, and He loves Klal Yisrael, and those Mitzrayim did bad to the Yiddish kinder, they're going to be punished. Now, if the Klal Yisrael are going to stay poor like they were before, so even we bring on the Mitzrayim 10 makos. And even we're going to say that every makkah in Mitzrayim was made out of 5 makos, like we see in the Haggadah Shel Pesach. So we had the Mitzrayim 50 makos. Even if we're going to say we had the Mitzrayim 50 makos. But what does this Mitzri think to himself? Emes. Johnny, Jackie, the Mitzrayim, they have makos, 5 makos of Dam, 5 makos of Tzvardeya. They have 50 makos in Mitzrayim. But Yankel and Moishele, they are poor. And the poverty that they have is even worse than 50 makos. So Hashem had to make right away by the first makkah. Klal Yisrael has nothing. No dam, no tzvardeya, and no poverty. Nisashnu Yisrael, they're going to have money. It's not yet the Rechish Gadol. The Rechish Gadol is going to be when they're going to go out of Mitzrayim. 90 donkeys full with all goods of Mitzrayim. But just, they shouldn't be poor anymore. They should have in their pockets like a few $1 million just to feel good. You know, it feels better when you have a few $1 million in your pocket. So that they should have. It's Ashnu Yisrael. This is what Hashem, this is what Hashem wanted. Hashem wants, so that's how the Zera Shimshon explains. That's why Hashem needed, in order it should be v'samtu fedus, we should see a difference. No makers by the Mitzrayim, by the Yidden, only by the Mitzrayim. V'hifla Hashem, vein Ami vein Amecha, Hashem is going to split up. And if Chaz v'Shalom, the Klal Yisrael are going to be poor, so they're even worse than the Goyim because they have poverty. So that's why it was needed that right away by the first market should be the Sashri Yisrael.
So what good was the money in the Midbar?
Huh?
What good was the money, the gold? I mean, the gold they used for the...
You're gewaldig. David Leib, you ask a gewaldige kashe. I don't have a chamishach shetoire, but if you're going to look up, I think it's a pasuk in Parashat Devorim, or a V'eschanon. The pasuk says over there, Yoda lechtecha habamidbar agadol va'anoiro, Hashem Elokecha imach lo yichasarta dovar. The pasuk says over there in the beginning that Hashem gave you all goods of Mitzrayim, and the Panim Yofis over there is Masbra, that pasuk. That what did Hashem Taka want? He gave for Klal Yisrael so much money, and in the midbar they didn't need it, because what to eat or what to drink, it was the Be'er Shel Miriam, and Mon came down from Shamayim. As David Leib said, they used Taka part of the gold to build the Mishkan. We see that the Medrash brings down, the Rechaim HaKodesh quotes it at the beginning of Parashat Truma, that every Yid had so much money that Hashem said, from one of you I could build the whole Mishkan. One Yid, every Yid had enough Zov, Kesef, and Achoishes to build the whole Mishkan. So what was the reason? And the Panim Yofis explains with this, I don't remember the pasuk, I should look it up, it's a Parshas Devorim, but it's very gishmak how he explains, we see the pasuk, how the definition, but the meaning over there is that Hashem, even though Yoda Lechtecha Bamidbar, he knew that you're going to be going now in the Midbar for 40 years, and even though he showered upon you, you should have so much shefa. Why? Because it's not only as a purpose you should be able to buy things. Hashem wants Klal Yisrael should have shefa, even without needing it for something. We are used to. You need money to. You could buy with this. You could have what you could. The substitute that you could get from the money. But Hashem wanted that Klal Yisrael should have money. They should be ashirim, even. So the Panim Yofis is with that mas with the pasuk. Hashem alekecha barachacha b'choil masa yodecha. Yoda lechtecha b'midbar hagadol v'anoyru ze 40 shana. Hashem alekecha imach lo chasarta davar. Meaning to say, even though he knew he gave you should have all the shefa, you shouldn't be missing anything. We see that when Hashem sends Moshe and Ahron, they should go to Paroi. So the pasuk says over there are two psikim. It's before Shlishi. Mamish before Shlishi. It says like this: Hu Ahron and Moshe asher Omar Hashem lohem oitziu es bnei Yisrael meretz Mitzrayim al tzevoisam. Heima medabrim al Paroi belach Mitzrayim lo yitziu es bnei Yisrael mi Mitzrayim. Hu Moshe va'Ahron. So one pasuk starts Hu Ahron and Moshe, first Ahron and then Moshe. The next pasuk finishes Hu Moshe v'Ahron. So Rashi brings down once it says Ahron before Moshe. Yesh mekoyim Moshe shemagdim Ahron leMoshe. Yesh mekoyim Moshe shemagdim Moshe leAhron. Lo imalacha sheshkulin ke'echad. They are both equal. Moshe and Ahron are both equal. So once we say first Moshe then Ahron, once first Ahron and then Moshe. Like this, both are equal. If you would say always Moshe before Ahron, someone could think Moshe was more choshev than Ahron. So the pasuk says once like this and once like this. The Shloah Kodesh asks a kasha, how could you say that they were equal? The pasuk says, "V'leikam b'Yisrael oid novi keMoshe." There was no novi that was beklal Yisrael like Moshe Rabbeinu. Asher yedoya leikim ponim el ponim. Hashem spoke to him pe adaber boy. Imare v'loy bechidois. More than all of the Nevi'im. And one of the 13 animamins that the Rambam Paskins, a Yid, is mechiyev to believe. Animamim b'Emuna shleima. Shemoishe Rabbeinu olav hashalom. Hu hoya of la Nevi'im. He was the biggest Navi of la Nevi'im, even though they were before him. How could you say that Moshe and Ahron were shokol, they were equal?
In their humility.
But what's the definition of the word humility?
Another.
Oh, so Reb Zev Yonis said it refers to the Anova. And their Anova, they were equal. You see that they say V'nachnu mo. They speak about themselves, both of them themselves, and they say we are nothing. V'nachnu mo. Even though the pasuk says in Ba'aloischa v'yish Moshe Onav Me'oid Mikol Adam Asher Al Pnei Adomo. In the Choyra Mashma, he was the biggest Onav, even more than Ahron. But maybe I think that there are some that explain, like you said, they were the same in the Madrege in Anova. But I want to say there's a lot of tritzim. I want to quote what Moshe Feinstein, Zaychet Tzadik Levruch, says in the Sefer Dorash Moshe. And he brings down a Gemara in Bava Basra, a gewaltige Gemara. Maybe I said it already once. The Gemara brings down in Masechta Bava Basra, Daf Yud Amud Beis. Rav Yosef, the son of Rabbi Yeshua, became sick. He wasn't well. And it seemed that he's going to be leaving this world. Tokif le'alma. In the last minute, he became better, and he was well again. He became he was healed. He came back to himself. He wakes up, and his father, Rabbi Yeshua, asks him, son of mine, what did you see upstairs while you were in Shemayim? What did you see? He tells his father, Oilam Hofuch Ra'isi. I saw a world turned upside down. Oilam Hafuch Ra'iti. Ra'iti, a world, mamish the opposite. Elyoinim lemato, v'tachtoinim lemalo. I was used to people seeing them in the front row, and over there, they're in the back. And those who were on this world in the back, they're in the front. Elyoinim lemato, v'tachtoinim lemalo. His father, Rabbi Yeshua, tells to his son, Rabbi Yosef, Oilam borer Ra'isa. You saw a clear world, a true world, a clear world. It's borer. That's the right. Ask, that's the Gemara in Bava Basra. Ask Moshe Feinstein, I don't understand. Didn't Rabbi Yosef, the son of Rabbi Yeshua, the Samoyre, know that this world is a Olam HaSheker? And not everyone that's over here in the Mizrach is going to be in Shamayim in the Mizrach. His father has to explain him, Olam Boror Isa, you saw a true world, a clear world. He knew that this world is Olam HaSheker. And sometimes a lot of people that are over here, that are in the front row, aren't in that Madreg, and the same. Some people that are a hidden tzaddik, and he's in the back, and he should be in the front. He explains gewaltig Moshe Feinstein. He says like this. The son tells his father of Yosef, I was in Shamayim, and I see people, Elyoinim Lamata didn't mean to say, over here they were Elyoinim, and over there they are Lamata. Even in Shamayim, they are considered Elyoinim. Why? I see on them that it says, this person knows the whole Shas, the entire Shas with all Toisfus. He knows the whole Kabbalah, the whole Zohar HaKodesh he knows. And even with that, his place is Lamata. And I see Tachtoinim, people that are considered Lamalo Tachtoinim, they don't know a lot. He knows maybe one Masechta. Maybe one Peirik he knows. That's all that he knows. And it says on him, this Yidele knows this and this Peirik of Gemara. And even though he is Lamalo, I see over there Elyoinim, they are considered in Shamayim as Elyoinim, and with that they are Lamata. And Tachtoinim, that means it's not that I come up and I see, oh, this person that over here in this world we thought that he knows the whole Shas. Over there we see he's a big Amoritz. No, we held from him that he knows all Shas, and he taki knows all Shas. And this person that we held in this world that he only knows a very little, it's not that over there we are Megala. No, he was a Lamed Vav Tzaddik and he knows the whole Torah. He is still considered as a person that only knows the little bit of Torah. And even with that, he is Lamala and he is Lamata. What's the definition? And his father answers him, Olam Boror Isa, you saw a true world. Why? Because Hashem doesn't look on the kamut, how much you have, how much did you work, how much did you fight with the Yetzer Hara, how much did you bring out your potential that you had. Sometimes a person knows the whole Shas, but he was able to know even more. It was easy for him. He didn't work hard. And wherever he had in his soil it was hard, he fell down, he left. He didn't fight. He wasn't a loichem for Hashem's will. He only took it easy. So even though he knows the whole Shas, and even though he knows the whole Zohar HaKodesh, he is going to sit over there lamata, because he wasn't the worker. He wasn't the Eved Hashem. He wasn't the servant. He didn't go out of his way for Hashem's Rotzoin. And in the other case, a person that couldn't do any more, according to the qualifications that Hashem gave him, that was the maximum that he was able to reach. He wasn't able to reach more than one Peirik Shas. That was his brains that Hashem gave him. That was the matziv that he was. The surroundings that he had, he wasn't able. That was, and even for that, he had to fight and he had to work, and he did it, and that was what he achieved. So Hashem says, that's the maximum that you were able to achieve. You're going to be Lamala. And that's considered Olam Boror Isu. You saw a true, clear world. Comes in a Moshe Feinstein and it says like this. For sure, Ahron wasn't even close to the Madrega of Nevuah of Moshe. But Ahron was the maximum that Ahron was able to be. And Moshe was the maximum that he was able to be. If Moshe wouldn't maximize the ability that he was able to reach, even though if he would have been bigger than Ahron, he wouldn't be the same. Maybe Ahron would be more than him. If Ahron would maximize himself more than Moshe maximized himself. The Pasuk says both of them were shokol, equal in maximizing the potential that they had. What Hashem wanted from them. Moshe was a Nevi Hashem. Ahron was a Kohen. He was doing Rabim Heishiv Me'ovoin. He brought back a lot of Klal Yisrael. Oyev Shalom, Veroidev Shalom, Oyev Sabriyas, Emekarval Letoira. That was his doing, and he did the maximum that he was able, and Moshe did the maximum that he was able, and that's why they are shokol. They were equal, the two of them. And that's the pshat. The Rambam, yesterday was the yahrzeit of the Rambam. The Rambam brings down in Hilchos Tshuva, Yochel kol odom liyas ke Moshe Rabbeinu. Every Yid could be like Moshe Rabbeinu, and it's interesting, how could every Yid be like Moshe Rabbeinu? But as we say now, if a person does the shleimus that what he could do, what Hashem wants from him, he can't reach the madrega of nevu of Moshe Rabbeinu. That was only Moshe. But he could maximize, he could do the maximum that he is able to do and bring out the maximum that Hashem wants from him in being an Eved Hashem, like Moshe Rabbeinu. I want to speak a little bit also regarding those weeks are the weeks of Shavovim. And the days of Shavovim, you could do very easily Tshiva. The Ari HaKodesh says that even those Averis, that it says in Zohar HaKodesh, that Tshiva doesn't help for those Averis, only if you do a very strong Tshiva. It's called Tshuva Eloah, a very strong, starke, der Hoibene Tshiva. But in those days of Shavuvim, everybody could turn to Hashem, and Hashem deletes all the Averis very easily. I once said already, maybe, Aramimcha Hashem Kidilisoni. The Bnei Yisosche brings down his yortzeit. It was the previous Shabbos, the Bnei Yisosche. I think he brings it down in a sefer, Agre de Pirke. He says, David HaMelech says, Aramimcha Hashem, I praise Hashem, Kidilisoni. You pulled me out from Chiyesani Meyor Divoyer. Dilisoni is like taking, drawing me out. So he quotes and he says, Dilisoni is also Meloshin Deles, the door. Delet, Dilisoni. Because Chazal say that David HaMelech really wasn't Rui to have this chet with Bathsheba. It wasn't supposed to be. Hashem made he should have this Aveire. Lahoirois tshuva layochid. David HaMelech was to show Kalal Yisrael that even a big tzaddik as David could fall through by a sin and he could do tshuva. Lahoirois tshuva layochid. That was why David HaMelech was nichshel with the Parashat of Bathsheba. So David HaMelech says, Aramimcha Hashem, why Kidilisoni? You made me as a delis for tshuva. You made me as a show for Kalal Yisrael that look, Hashem is poseach shar ledoivki b'tshuva. He opens up the door for those that they ask, I want to do tshuva. Look at David HaMelech. He is a delas. He is like at the show for all Klal Yisrael that you can be able to do tshuva, dilisoni. I once said that maybe it's a shtikl remes. That in our days, Hashem, if a person wants to do tshuva in 1 second, he could become good, as the Heilige Rishon once says. Hashem was being marchik, the avoidance from Klal Yisrael, as farther is from Mizrach to Ma'ariv. Hashem was, how do you say hirchik? He was, he distanced from us, our Averis, as the distance from Mizrach to Ma'ariv. Now Chazal say that to go the whole world from Mizrach to Ma'ariv is like walking 500 years. But the Holy Rishon says, look, a person could be standing over here and he's facing Mizrach. Then he could just give a turn around, 180 degrees, and he's still standing on the same dot that he stood before, but now he's facing Ma'ariv. He was facing Mizrach, and now he's facing Ma'ariv. So he says like this. Before, if the person would be walking, he would be walking towards Mizrach. Now he gave a turn around. If he's walking towards Ma'ariv. So the pasuk says, what's the difference from Mizrach to Ma'ariv? You don't have to go the whole way. Just give a turn around. And put your focus, instead of going that way, change directions to another direction. That's the same way. By one turn around, and you say, I want to change my ways, like this Hashem. So you could do it in 1 second. A gezinte achlote, a decision, a strong decision. So I said maybe we could see as the world works, how it also works with Averis. Once, if a person, we know that every night we write in Shomayim, V'choisam yat kol adam boy, a person writes with his handwriting all the mitzvahs that he did, and Chav Shalom all the Averis that he did during that day. Now if you want to erase, once upon a time you used to write on klaf. How do you say klaf in English? On a Sefer Torah, it's called parchment. You used to write with tint and klaf. And if you made a mistake, you wanted to erase, it used to become very, very hard. Oh, you had to, with a gillette, with a knife, scratch. Or sometimes it was so bad you had to cut out the whole piece and put a patch from under it. Now with the time, the world became more, and they started making pens, pencils that you could erase. In our days, it works. You write on a computer, on a screen, and if something is not good, you just give a press delete, and in 1 second, it's deleted. You don't even, it's only written on the screen, and in 1 second, it's deleted. So I said, maybe it's a remes. Aramimcha Hashem kidilisonu. It's Miloshin delete. Hashem made me for a delis of tshuva. In our days, Hashem wants to show us, look, even if you have written something in Shamayim, something that's not good, it's not, Hashem doesn't need from us as such a hard tshuva as we used to have in other days. It's enough, dilisonu, you give one press, delete, a good decision, achlote, and everything is being. So shuvu, bonim, shevovim, in those days, we could do tshuva very easily, the Ari HaKodesh says. And one of the ikar things that Ari HaKodesh quotes is to watch the mouth. You shouldn't use your mouth to speak bad things, lashon hara, rechilas. Just use your mouth for the bire Torah, the bire tefillah. That's what you have to use. And the Zera Kodesh, the Rob Shetzruv, writes Gevaldig. He says the word Mitzrayim starts with a mem and finishes with a mem. It starts with an open mem and finishes with a closed mem. He goes on and he says, Torah Shabal Peh, Mishnayis, starts with a mem, Me'emus HaKodesh Shema, Be'arvis. And how does it finish the last Mishnah of Uktzin? Also with a mem, with a closed mem. Omer Reb Shimon ben Chalaft, everybody knows the song. L'motza Kodesh Baruch Hu Keili Machzik Bracha LeYisrael, Shenemar, Hashem Oiz La'amit, Hashem Yevorech Es Amoi Bashaloim. So Mishnayis finishes with Bashaloim, a closed mem, and it starts with Me'emusai. That shows us. The Gemara says that an open mem means Mamar Posiach. There are words that you have to say and speak. Closed mem shows Mamar Sosem, a closed mouth. You shouldn't talk. And that's the Maise. He brings out when a person starts talking, if you say, it comes out a mem. Even when you start singing, you start, at the first, how do you say it? When you start pronouncing something with your mouth, it's the tzilil of a mem. And when you finish, it's also, you finish with a closed mem. That's how it works with the mouth. It starts with and it finishes with him. So that shows us. When it comes to Torah, Me'emusai, you open your mouth. You finish learning, Basholon, you close the mouth. Because a person's mouth is created, like the Gemara says in Masech Techulin, Ha'imnam Eileim Tzedek Tedabeirun. The Gemara brings down a pasuk, Ma'ibunotze Shal Odom Bo'ilam Hazeh. What's a person's umnis? How do you say a umnis? Craft, work. What's the craft of a person in this world? Yasa Atzmoi Ke'ileim. He should try to be like a Ilaim. Ilaim is someone that can't talk. How do you call him? He is a miyut. Ilaim. Yochel av b'divrei Torah. Even b'divrei Torah should be like a miyut. Talmud lo im tzedek tedabeir. Torah you should talk. What? Paroi is pera. Now it says in Zohar HaKodesh that the Golus Mitzrayim, the Dibur was in Golus. The Dibur was in Golus. That was pera, like you say, Gevaldik. And that's why when we come out from the Golus, we get Yom Tov Pesach. Pesach is Pesach. Soch is begematria Chayim. You use the Peh for Chayim, Kiem Chayenu, Toire, for Tvile, Chaye Sho, Chaye Oilam. You use it, Pesach, you use it for Chayim. Whatever you need for your life, Toire, Tvile, that's Pesach. At Kedekach, that the Maggid of Mozrich, the holy Maggid of Mozrich says, Vayered Mitzrayim, we say in the Haggadah Shal Pesach, Onus al Pi Adibur. The Poshet definition is, the reason why we came down in Mitzrayim, it was a Gezerah, we were forced to, because Hashem said so, Kigei Yazaracha, Beretz Lo Elohem, Onus, we were forced into Mitzrayim, al Pi Adibur, the Devar Hashem. The Maggid goes and he says, every person, Chaz v'Sholem, he falls into his own Mitzrayim. You know why? He is forced into his own Mitzrayim because he doesn't watch on his words. Vayered Mitzrayim, Onus, why? Al Pi Adibur. If he didn't watch on his words, Geulas Mitzrayim is when the Dibur comes out from Golus. What does it mean the Dibur comes out from Golus? If you don't use your Dibur for bad things, you only use it for good things. Torah, tefillah, chesed, a good word, a compliment for someone. You use the words for good deeds. That's the Geula of Mitzrayim. So he goes on and he says, the Zera Kodesh, Mitzrayim has mem. And the letters in between are Yud, Tzadik, Reish Yud. So he says Tzadik refers to Klal Yisrael. The Amech Kilam Tzadikim. Reish Yud are the 210 years that they were in Mitzrayim. So Mitzrayim refers to Tzadik. Klal Yisrael, the Tzadikim, they were in Mitzrayim, Reish Yud. You know why? Because the Mem and the Mem. Like Rashi says last week, when Shalabayni says, Ochein doida adovar. When Dosan and Aviram said, we're going to go and we're going to be in Malshin, we're going to tell Paro what you did to the Mitzri. How do you say Malshin in English? Again? Again? Snitch? Yeah, to tell. Again? It's like, being a Malshin on them, snitch on them for Paro, and that was what they did. And Paro wanted to kill Moshe. So Moshe says, I was wondering why Yiddish kinder have so many tzoros. They speak Lashon Hara one on the other. So we see from that the Golus in Mitzrayim was because the mem wasn't used good. And that's why Hashem tells him, when we're going to go out of this Golus of Mitzrayim, you're going to be Mekabel the Torah. We're going to get the Torah. And that's why the Chiddush Shirim says, Gevaldi, the Torah Shebal Peh is called Torah Shebal Peh. Why shouldn't we call it Torah Shebepeh, Torah Shebiksav, Torah Shebepeh, Torah Shebal Peh? Says the Chiddush Shirim, because the Torah Shebal Peh makes you a balabos on your peh. The Torah, it's moira derech, and it shows you Shebal Peh, how you be a balabos on your mouth. Why? It starts with Me'emosai and it finishes with Basholoim. It teaches you, when do you open your mouth? When it comes to Torah, Tefillah, Chesed, saying good things with your mouth. You finish, you want to start Lashon Hara? Basholom, you zip your mouth. You zip it up. You became Baal Peh. That's the idea of coming out of Mitzrayim. We could even say the letters in between are Yetzer. Mem and Yetzer. The Milchamas HaYetzer is, we should know when it should be Mamar Pasiach and when Mamar Sosem. The Yetzer says, don't use your mouth for Torah Tefillah. Why? Because that's the strongest weapon against the Yetzer Hara. Borisi Yetzer Hara, it doesn't want you should learn Torah. He says, open your mouth when it comes to bad things, to bad sayings, and close it when it comes to Torah. And we have to win the war. We have to win the battle with the Yetzer Hara. And we use our mouth. When it comes to Torah and Tefillah, it's a Mamar Pasiach, it's an open mem, and afterwards it's a closed mem. In that way, if we're going to watch our mouth, how much we could, every little bit, that's one of the biggest tekinim of Shevovim. The days of Shevovim to be zoiche, to achieve it, to go out from Mitzrayim, to go out from Perah, is by doing Peh Toiv. You use your mouth for good things. Hashem should be us bezakeh. We should be zoiche to achieve it and have all the goods.
Amen. That's what Moshe Rabbeinu was.